It's a tale of endurance and determination by rescuers who refuse to give up. This was once 4 apartment blocks, unrecognizable now. There were concrete blocks, one on top of each other, he tells us. Up to 100 were dead inside, but remarkably, at least one teenager called Reema was still alive.
We had to go down through this hole, and there was lots of twisted metal and concrete, but there was a gap which formed a tunnel. And we had to go through that and another tunnel to get to her.
The flats had more or less pancaked. The snatched images on his phone show how cramped it was as they crawled in one by one to reach Reema.
That's her leg there.
All the building was resting on this part. Any movement and it would all collapse and we'd lose her.
The White Helmets volunteers and Reema's relatives were working with very little. No heavy machinery at all at this point, just their bare hands and a lot of ingenuity. They managed to squeeze their way through the gaps, following the sound of her screams until they found her, cold and terrified, and with her right leg pinned down by tons of concrete. They covered her with blankets to keep her warm, and using only torches, after hours of trying, they realised the only way to free her and save her life was to amputate her leg, there, under the rubble. She can't remember anything of the amputation and still hasn't been told her father didn't make it. She's just relieved her ordeal's over after 30 hours of being trapped. She realised herself the only way to get out was to lose her leg. I told them to cut my leg, she says. They tried really hard to save it, but there wasn't any hope and there was no blood to it at all, so they took the decision to cut it. When I was trapped in the hole, there was a dead man next to me, she goes on. I was really afraid. I just wanted to get out. She's now hoping to somehow get a prosthetic. Still only 14 years old, the night of the earthquakes dramatically altered her future and so many others. Her family lost everything. Her father, the main breadwinner, as well as their entire home and all that they had to their names. At the moment, they're staying with Reema in the hospital, so they have some shelter, for now. They're just living from day to day. They're one of tens of thousands who've lost their homes. This family is digging to find their IDs and anything they can salvage. Even scraps are better than nothing. Majdalin is searching for her phone. It has pictures of her 10-year-old on it, all she has left of her son now.
Were you talking to him?
No, there was no voice, she says. She and her relatives battled to free him with no help. Her son's body was pulled out 2 days later. They've survived the earthquake, now they have to live with the aftermath, with little help or aid from outside, and much of it viewed as far too late by those here.
What did the Syrian people do wrong? What is our sin that the world left us like this? Are our lives worth nothing? Why? We're human beings. We respect humanity and respect human rights. We're not barbarians.
More than a decade of war and a natural disaster is fast turning into an humanitarian crisis, in a region perpetually going from tragedy to tragedy. Why were you so late, it reads. We were waiting for you. The trauma caused by the biggest earthquakes in a century, those who helped the people here and those who took far too long, is going to be remembered way after the rubble's been pieced back together again. Alex Crawford, Sky News in Aleppo province, northwest Syria.